Thinking, no, it's okay. Just a second. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, I can hear it on the mic. So does that mean it's okay?
All right, is everyone ready? We are ready. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Virginia City Cultural Chambers. This is a regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting. We have a lot of audience participation today. We have a full council present. We'll call this meeting to order. Today's date is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. The time is 9 a.m. We have a full agenda today, so we have some presenters today, and we're going to turn this portion of our Committee of the Whole meeting over to our City Administrator, Britzy Bennis, in a moment. But I just want to, the first speaker today is going to be Jay Hopala and a group of personnel regarding the Age-Friendly Citizens Advisory Committee. Once the presentation is made, and we're excited to have you all here, we're going to have a photo op with all the city councils and all members of the committee moving forward and before we move to the next item on the agenda. So just to let everybody know. So, Britt?
As you mentioned, the first item on the agenda is Jay Happel and the Virginia Age-Friendly Citizens Advisory Committee regarding designation as an AARP age-friendly community.
Please come forward, sir, and turn the light to green, and please state your name for the record, and welcome to the Virginia City Council Committee of the Whole meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and council members and your team here. My name is Jay Hoppala, and I work for AARP. Back when this building, your city hall, was built in the 1920s, people's life expectancy here and across the country wasn't much more than 50 years old. But that has certainly changed, and with the advances we've made, people are living longer. So we've achieved that. People are living longer, and at AARP we represent people over the age of 50. But what hasn't changed so much is our ability to keep up with the needs that folks have as they live longer and get older in our communities, and their preferences for issues like where they'd like to live, the homes that they can afford, the homes that are built for people to be able to use them and live in them. I know that's a real issue on the Iron Range. These homes were built so long ago, whether it's having the bathroom on the main level and bedrooms upstairs and laundry in the basement. It's a real issue that our elders are facing in these communities. But I'm here today to recognize you for your commitment to making sure that Virginia and your community is a place that people can live for a lifetime. And the AARP operates the network of age-friendly communities across the country and here in Minnesota. And like I said, this is about recognizing your commitment because there still is a lot of work to do. So joining our age-friendly network is really a commitment that you've made to understand the issues and your residents' needs and preferences when it comes to the housing that they need, when it comes to the mobility and the transportation that they need. It has to do with people's ability to have jobs and serve their community. Has to do with the opportunities they have to socialize. I think we've learned a lot over the last 5 years or so about social isolation and what can happen to people's health when they don't have the ability to connect with each other in the place that they live. And I wanted to say, too, that it's not just about the folks that call Virginia home, but you're a regional center and that you just had a busy weekend here with the holiday and people coming to visit. So when you make this commitment and create a community that's even better for people of all ages, it's good for that part of your economy and community life. And it's also for people who visit during other parts of the year, like my folks who live over in Ely and come to Virginia for their shopping and to see the doctor and everything like that. And it's exciting, too, with all the young people going back to school today, seeing people bringing their kids to school and crossing the street in a neighborhood that's safe and meets their needs. So there are also, of course, residents here who are working with you on this effort, and we're just glad to be a support for you as you embark on this process. So I have this certificate for you and a letter from our Vice President in Washington, D.C., who says, congratulations to the city of Virginia, Minnesota, for becoming the 918th community to enroll in the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities. So thank you, congratulations, and we look forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you, Jay. If you just stay up here for a moment, we may have some comments from the council in that regard. Thank you for coming to make this presentation on our behalf. Thank you for the committee moving forward, and I know that they worked very hard in order to accomplish this goal and objective. And when you have people that are committed to that, we've done a lot in the state of Virginia, thanks to our citizens groups, about reducing the carbon footprint, accessibility to those who they need accessibility one way or the other, in any way, form, walking, biking, whatever it is, to make it accessible for that part. We have some challenges ahead still with housing and those kind of things for seniors, but we are working toward that goal, and we're proud to receive this award from AARP, and thanks to the work of Mary McReynolds, Carolyn Delina. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I apologize for that. And may I have your name? Area Agency. Okay, thank you very much. So, is any councilor have any questions, comments? Councilor Johnson.
Thank you for the work you're doing We appreciate it very much. And Mary, I know you spend hours and hours and hours on this, if not days and weeks. But it's nice to know that as 50 comes around the corner for me, this community will be accessible for me and my children and my grandchildren. So I really appreciate the work you do and the amount of time put into continuing this process. I think we got a similar something last year or 2 years ago. We got an award for age community friendly stuff. Brian got it for Parks and Rec, if I remember right. So we are doing good things, and I appreciate everybody's work. What? And the library as well, yes. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Okay, what we'd like to do is gather the council together and all the members of the group and Jay Holopah from AARP, and we just have a little photo opportunity, and with the committee's approval, we would like to do that now, and maybe have the opportunity to publish this in the Masabi Tribune if everybody is amenable to that. So, so the best way to do, I suppose, is gather all in front of us there, and we'll stand up and we'll try to gather on and get one nice photo opportunity here. Matt Reed, from the master of many things, and he's going to help us with a photo opportunity as well. Thank you. So, quick question for you, Jay, before we move on to the next item on the agenda. So, being the 918th city to be age-friendly recognized community, is that just in Minnesota, or is that nationwide?
That would be nationwide. So here in Minnesota, there are 26 from Minneapolis and Brooklyn Park down in the cities to small towns like Lind and Bird Island and Northfield. So cities of different shapes and sizes, and every place is different. So your committee here will discover different issues to work on and bring the resources you have at hand to work on those sort of one at a time, and it's going to be different than what they're doing in Minneapolis or the next place.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're the first one on the Iron Range? Excellent, thank you. All right, exciting. Next item, please.
Thank you. Item number 2 is Matt Reed from SCH, our city engineer of record, regarding 2 requests for change orders for extensions of projects.
Matt, good morning.
Morning. I feel like a broken record. Everybody take a deep breath. All right. The first item on the agenda is a request from the contractor that's doing the work on 6th Avenue North and 2nd Street, or 6th Avenue West and 17th Street South for a time extension. It's not a monetary extension, it's for a time extension. It's described in the letter from them, the memo from me. It really is the same as everybody else has run into. It's that weather we had in June. They've acknowledged and admitted they had a little bit of a later start than they wanted to, and as soon as they got ready to start, that's when the weather started. They also ran into some issues up on Sixth Avenue that nobody was aware of, including us. Believe it or not, there's a fair amount of ledge rock up there. And so they got going and had to stop on the storm sewer. They were able to start on something else and keep rolling, but we had to redesign the storm sewer to get it around the ledge rock and all of that. So, long and the short of it, they are requesting an extension for, I believe, 4 weeks is what it is. October 19th, I think, was the date. Little different scenario than the one we discussed last week at the council meeting where because they really weren't working much in June, we weren't there. So we're not running into that situation where we're over budget. We're coming here asking the city for more money to account for our extra time at this point. So there's really not that doesn't appear to be anything that's going to become an issue with it. So, little different scenario, but I'll try to answer any question. Maybe real quick, if I could give a quick update on where that's at. That project is currently at. They're getting ready to pave the first phase over by 17th Street. That's going to be done by the end of the week. That'll be open back up to public, hopefully by the end of the week, and then they're going to start right into the next phase, moving west, which they hope to have concrete work done there by the end of next week. So that's going to start moving pretty quick now that they've got this section with most of the utilities out of the way. Sixth Avenue, they're hoping to have the utility work, sewer and storm done, sanitary and storm done for sure by the end of this week. Water main, steam removal, everything done hopefully by the end of next week. So they've started to rebuild the road going north off of 9th Street on that one as well. So they're making very good progress now. So once they were able to get some weather and get some traction and get moving, they were able to get going. So that's where it's at as of right now. That's what I have for an update on the schedule. I'll stop talking, and if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or try to.
Thank you. We'll go around the room first, Councilor Motley, and then we'll go to Councilor Beyondich, and then to Councilor Johnson. Councilor Motley.
Thank you, Mayor. So just clarify, no additional cost, and also no additional cost by SCH at this time? And is it your recommendation to move this forward?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. Those were my exact questions. The cost involved, there is none.
Not at this
Correct.
point, no.
So you don't foresee, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Is this the contractor we had to pay to do nothing for those few days?
Say that one more time.
Is this the contractor we had to pay to sit and do nothing for those few days?
This is that project.
I will not be supporting an extension, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? You're looking for council action, a motion? Move to approve of the contract extension for those projects disseminated by our engineer of record, SCH, moved by Councilor Friedlieb. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Councilor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed?
No.
Roll call, please, Pam.
Motley,
Yes.
Friedlieb,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Beyondich,
No.
Johnson,
No.
Aaron-Zelli. Yes. Cuffey,
Aye. Motion passes 5-2. Thank you.
Okay, and then the next one is another request from the contractor on Silver Lake Trail Phase 2B. If you remember, we revisited this about a month ago. They had originally asked for 30 to 60 days. I had told them I wasn't willing to come to the council and recommend anything more than 30. I still stand behind that. So I'm not going to stand here and recommend to you that we give them another extension at this point. They have made some progress, and they're supposed to be back on site today. I'm hoping we'll see them out there. They've been good to work with. They, nothing against the contractor at this point, but this project's been open for a year, and I just feel like it's time to get it done. So, again, it's totally up to you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, but my recommendation on this one would be to not grant another extension. Doesn't mean that anything's gonna come out of it in the end, but I would recommend not granting this extension at this point.
Thank you, Matt. Councilor Beyondich?
Thank you for that recommendation. When is the fine, this was grant funded, correct? So it's not taxpayer dollars. Have we paid them in full? Has that grant been,
We have not paid them in full.
so do you wait until the project's done to do final payment on them?
We pay, yes, we pay as we go. As the work is completed, we pay for the work that's been completed.
So what is their reason for not having, I mean, they started out doing great guns. What is the reason that it has stalled?
I don't know, to be honest with you. My suspicion is that they've got a lot of work going on. They're probably running into this on all their projects again, the way the spring started out. But I don't know. Their answer has always been that the manufacturing of the docks and things, and then it takes time. I get that. Excuse me. But they've had a lot of time to manufacture the dock at this point. So we have not paid them in full. We've paid them for a significant portion of it, work that they've got done, building the dock, things like that. But it's not paid in full. The grant's fully expended, I believe, right, Britt?
1 grant.
One
There's
grant.
2 grants for it.
Yeah. The one grant is full. The one that had the deadline is fully expended, so got that cleared. But they'll get it done. I'm fairly confident they're a reputable contractor. They do good work. I'm confident they'll get it done. I just don't, I want to make sure that they understand that there's some urgency here to get it done now.
Brett, for the second grant, does that have an expiration date?
December 31st.
So if it is not done,
We would ask for extension if we needed to, but I don't think we would need to go that far.
do you feel they would get it done yet this fall?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Beyondich and Matt. We'll go to Councilor Johnson in a moment here, but I think it's a matter of prioritizing their work. So extension was given for 30 days. They can prioritize their work and come back and finish this project and figure out their other projects if that's the case. Councilor Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. What is left of this project?
They have to install the rest of the floating dock and then the 2 connection points on each end. Paving's done, concrete's done, which I'll be watching that pretty close because hopefully they're not going to damage it when they're dealing with the dock. They've got to do a little bit of turf work. Realistically speaking, if their production rate is as they say it would be, within 2 weeks, they could have the whole thing done. Based on what they've told me in the past. So, but that's pretty much it. Mostly it's just the dock.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, on the east side where they had to extend from where the original plan to meet was there is not an ADA rumble strip, for lack of a better term. Will that be getting taken care of by them?
There's the ped ramp you're talking about, the little dome. Yes, that'll be, so there's a segment coming up off the water that ties into the existing trail. That's got to all be finished off still, yes.
I'm inclined not to grant this one because it has been over a year. And we always have the option to not fine them after. So if they get it done and it's only a couple days, we as a council can decide that a couple of days is okay. But this is what we were talking about last week by granting it, then we lose more leverage. And for this project that has been well over a year, and they were here and did great for a week and they've been gone now for 2 weeks or whatever. So I won't be supporting the extension of this deadline. I'll be willing to talk to them when they're done about what that looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Anyone else? Okay, looking for a motion then.
I'll move the denial of the 30-day extension for the Silver Lake Trail Phase 2B. Oh,
Okay, so
Be that,
rephrasing the motion is to approve
approve,
the 30-day extension. And I guess it's a positive motion, not a negative motion, then it can be voted down if necessary. If you prefer not to make the motion, you're welcome not to do so.
so restate that for me?
Can't be a negative motion, so if we would make a motion, Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. So if no motion is made, the deadline stays as it exists in the contract now. And the most appropriate motion to make would be to approve the requested extension. And then by voting that up, you would approve the extension. By voting it down, you would deny. But if no motion is made, then the deadline stays the same.
Oh, I see. Okay. Can I ask additional question?
Please.
So are all of the platforms necessary to complete the project in the water currently?
No.
Okay, so there's more yet to be delivered. All right. So I will move the motion to approve the additional 30-day extension.
I will support that.
Moved by Counselor Freelieb and supported by Counselor Johnson to approve the 30-day extension for the Silver Lake Trail Phase 2B. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
No.
No. A roll call, please.
Friedlieb,
No.
Paulson,
No.
Beyondich,
No.
Johnson,
No.
Aaron's-Ellie. Cuffey.
No, motion passes 6-1. Thank
I
you.
got one more.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
Counselor Motley.
Counselor Motley.
No.
Well, I apologize for that. Motion now passes 6-1. Thank you. Fails 6-1. Thank you. All right. Motion fails 6-1. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, you're welcome.
Appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Matt. Item number 3 is Sean Lewis from Kraus Anderson to give us an update on the Public Safety Center project and to discuss 2 change orders.
I don't see you have anybody from the fire EMS here. Okay, Sean?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Again, I'm Sean Lewis, Senior Project Manager for Kraus Anderson on the Virginia Public Safety Project. I also have a PowerPoint again here too. Thank you, Counselor Johnson. Appreciate the help. Do I need to turn the monitors on first? I don't see a on button here. I have a short update, short and sweet update. And then I also have, Brett and I have worked on a budget update to share with the group as well. Again, this is a very fluid document. So as changes come up, we will continue to share those with this group. And then as the agenda states, we also have 2 change order requests to recommend approval for. Thank you. To try my plug and play again. Press and hold this. I do, yeah. I do. Thank you for, oh, here we go. Here we go. There we go. Share screen. Takes a minute to prompt on my computer, apparently. Be up in a moment. Pardon me? Technology's great acceptance. Yeah, yeah. Isn't that true? Appreciate everybody's patience while we get this set up. Thank you. So. Popping up this thing here. Oh.
In your presentation.
Here?
It thinks there's two monitors.
Shared experiences. Last time.
Maybe. Try that.
Odd.
Vacation suite.
Well, that's quite all right. I can proceed without this. Appreciate everybody's patience. Apparently, this is still on vacation. So we'll go ahead. I do have some fun pictures I can share at the next meeting. But nevertheless, I can share, and maybe this will go as we're going here, but I'd like to get started. We have concrete foundations. I think as I shared with the group last time, are all done. The CMU load-bearing walls are finished for now, meaning the block walls, also referred to as the walls that will be supporting the precast concrete when it arrives this month, pardon me. We have some other interior non-load-bearing block walls that'll go in later. But the portion for the bearing walls, that one's completed. Trying to share. There we go. Not sure why it wasn't working in the first place. There we go. Underground plumbing continues. We have about another week or so of underground plumbing. So meaning when we run drainage pipes for restrooms and spaces like that, we try to get those in as early as possible. There's quite a bit more work to do. Once the precast building is all constructed and ready to go, then the plumbers will finish that portion down the road. Second Avenue, this is probably the big one a lot of you have noticed. Second Avenue utilities and street work. So that was started last week. As you can see, the road was closed, detours, traffic planning and everything, and was communicated to other agencies in the community. And so far, so good. Planning for that work to be another couple weeks, and then we can open things back up there. Site utilities and site work will continue after Second Avenue. So in other words, moving on to the site. We have some of that actually going this week as well. In other words, like working on the water main right now into the building, especially before ground freezes up. We want to make sure we have those services in and out of the building. And then another quick update on the contaminated soils. Some testing was done on the southwest corner of the job site, and we have a little more coming up on that. And I'll touch on, we allocated some funds in the budget to cover that when that does arrive as well, so we're prepared. I have an overall budget update next. Thank you for the help, Councilor Johnson. I appreciate that. I like to hold handouts when I have them sometimes until I'm a little bit into my presentation, so other things aren't taken away from. So again, the budget on a project, especially of this size and complexity, is always a fluid document. So we will continue to update the committee of the whole as we go thank you again, Counselor Johnson. As we go through the project with updates to the project, so we've updated on the top the revenue or the available funds, in other words, the funding sources. Right now, we have a total of $33,579,000 available for project funding. We've made adjustments on the line for construction, adding in some of the changes we've already brought here and discussed, including the contaminated soils, and the value engineering savings as well are calculated in that adjustments column. And we had some savings left over from the demo project last fall as well. That's calculated in here too. I'm just hitting the high points in some of the changes we made, and then I'll open up for any questions or at all if anybody does have any. We also bolstered the contingency at this point, added a few more dollars, and basically it's like your savings account. When you have an opportunity to, we add a little more there. It doesn't mean that it's going to be spent, but it means that we're protected a little bit more on the project. So we know if not something, another surprise comes up or anything comes up, then we're ready. Including adding or identifying specific line for the contaminated soil remediation. So we know we have a little more coming up for that, so we have a few more dollars figured in there as well. A few other adjustments as we've gotten into the project, such as site surveys and testing and special testing and inspections. We've allocated funds to that to match where our current estimates are. And also builder's risk insurance premium. We added a few funds to that to match what the current premium is, that the city is retaining that policy for builder's risk insurance, which is it's a standard practice for a project like this. And then on the bottom again, right now we have about $1 million of unallocated funds that Brett and I are continuing to work on finding a home for those dollars. You also notice too, we have a few lines that are highlighted in yellow. Those are some ones we have a little more homework to do to verify the exact amounts on those. And then one also is the state of Minnesota tax refund. The plan right now is to apply for a tax refund, which is different than a tax exemption. Just to be clear, so sometimes that question comes up. The project is not tax exempt, so the contractors, including KA, have to pay sales tax on things, and then down the road, because of some new legislation or more recent legislation, the project can be applied for a tax refund. So we're working with our subcontractors along the way to monitor that and track that. And right now, our estimated value for that is about $500,000. So that's factored in here, that's why I point that out. I have change orders coming up next, but I thought I'd pause here and ask if there are any questions I can answer at all. Or,
Thank you, Sean. Move from left to right. Any questions, comments, concerns? Counselor Paulson?
Thank you so much. It looks like we're moving along as scheduled, so I
yes,
think
ma'am.
that's great.
So far, so good.
Yeah, so far, so good. Until we get to the change orders. No, I'm kidding. So then I just want to ask on the land acquisition, when it says this still needs to be confirmed, you mean the total expenditures that are we all done and completed with those expenses?
Great question. I will defer to Britt on that one.
We believe so. As late as the groundbreaking ceremony, we did have somebody come forward with more moving expenses, and there's a period of time they have to submit those. We're getting darn close to the end. I can't remember I can't remember if it was 18 months or whatever it may be, but there is a period of time.
Okay, so they still have a little, like
a
an
little bit of
open
wiggle
window
room for
to
those
file.
relocation.
Okay,
expenses.
additional.
But all the purchases are done. It's just the relocations that we're working
Okay,
on still.
and then Britt, are those figures accurate?
Very
of what we
close.
budgeted?
Yes, very, very close to what
Okay.
we actually have.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's all I had to add. I think that's it at this time. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Beyondich?
Thank you. Hello. When I look at the highlighted total available dollars, in the top overall project budget, was that 31,849, 678, and it jumped to the 33,579. Is that an additional that we're adding on to this overall project?
That's one way of looking at it. At the time, the last budget update was shared was the $31,849,000. That's what we were aware of at the time. And so, yes, now we are aware of 1.7 million additional dollars that are allocated for this project.
So we are creeping up to that original amount that we said no to slowly. We're adding to it. When we wanted the total budget to stay where we were at the 31,849,000. So we're slowly creeping back up to that,
Is that a question or a comment?
well, both, but that's my concern, is we're slowly creeping back up.
Right. To be clear, these are, and Britt, maybe you can jump in and help me out here. These are actual dollars that are available for the project. It's not the cost of the project. So to explain, maybe I should explain, take a moment to explain our spreadsheet here. The portion above in green is actual dollars that are allocated for the project, including state bonding, USDA, the USDA rural development funding. That was the $21,610,000. That was the relatively larger number that we thought it was $20 million when we did this update in March. And since then, that's been updated and it's now $21,610,000. Also, funds from our partners at IRRB, and that's in here. And then additional funding dollars, things like premiums, bond premiums, and funding like that. So in other words, these are dollars that are available for the project. Not to say they all have to be spent right now, but there are dollars that are available for the project.
And that's why I watch change orders, because when you put more money into that, there's more chance that it will be that in the very end. So
That's one way of looking at it, yep. And again, at the end of the day, it's up to the Virginia City Council of how you want to allocate and spend those dollars, really.
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Councilor.
Does that help answer your questions?
It does.
Okay.
It does. And that's why when I see change orders coming right after, it's like, okay, what is the cost? And are we slowly going to creep back up to that? So when you say available dollars, to me, I look at change orders. Some of them, yes, we need, but slowly they get whittled away and we're back to that big number that we didn't want in the very beginning. So it's just how I look at it. And thank you for explaining.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think the difference between available dollars and our actual dollars spent is another story. This is what the budget is. Here are some available dollars. If we spend all, this is where it's going to be. But based upon the dollars that are available, this expenditure aspect of those dollars is up to the city council to determine whether they're legitimate or not, whether they want to approve them or not. So, thank you.
Well said.
Councilor Paulson.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I do have one other comment.
Yeah, please.
A couple questions.
Yep.
So on the second sheet, under FF&E expenses,
Yes, ma'am.
so let's go real quick to the bottom on that B3 solar requirements. There was a reduced to 300,000. What had the original amount been that we were required to expense or expenditure
That was required to spend?
for the B3 requirement?
I don't have that handy at the moment. Britt, do you remember what that is? I'd be happy to find that out, Councilor Paulson, and get back to you on that
I
one.
just want to know how much that it was reduced.
Yeah. Yep.
And what would have contributed to that loosening up a little bit to lessen the expense?
Right. Well, I think it needed to be done in order for the value engineering for the project to move forward. Are you asking like how can it be reduced?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if it was X amount of dollars, whatever the dollar amount value was,
Yep.
what changed to reduce it? Was it the footprint, the overall footprint?
Yeah, the building size.
The building size, so then it reduced the requirement
see.
of our B3?
The ratio of square footage to
Ratio.
yeah,
Okay.
that's,
Okay.
pardon me, I understand
That
the question
answers
now.
that.
Yep.
And if I do want to give a shout out to Cross Anderson, they've been finding B3 credit areas all along the way, selling our lumber, concrete removal.
Concrete removal off of Second Avenue, because that's concrete there. That's going to be sent to be recycled to turn into recycled concrete, and that qualifies for B3 credits, yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that
welcome.
explanation. And then the other question that I just noticed here, it says the technology and security allowance, it's new under FF&E,
Yeah,
included in construction estimate above except for TVs. So there's a line item of 0 on there, or is that saying it's reflected somewhere else above?
Great question. So most of the technology and security, the intent was to have our subcontractors carrying that. During the Valley Engineering, some things were pulled out to be purchased by the city, such as TVs, for example. And this is one thing Britt and I have talked about that's a fluid item, that we're likely going to need to add some dollars there to make sure that's covered, because it either comes from here or from somewhere else in order to buy things like TVs, or some things come over from the existing facilities too. So there will be a hybrid of that, and as we work through that and identify any dollars, if they do go there, we'll make sure this group knows that.
So should we be allocating any dollars as a placeholder for that instead of $0 allocation?
It's probably a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, so if that could be maybe reflected the next go-around. And then as far as technology, is that like our, well, what does it say? Technology and security. So technology would be what specifically?
The servers, the police servers are rather new, the fire ones are not. So there's just those, that's what we're still working on, is what needs to
Okay.
come, what stays. We've had numerous discussion with our door lock vendor. The server for all the city buildings lives here, but
Yep.
does it stay here or does it go there? That's where we're still working on.
Okay.
Those kind of things.
Okay.
And if it goes there, then what comes here?
So
What kind
it's
of a-
just figuring that portion out. And then security, is it going to be contiguous and security as what we have currently in all city buildings?
Correct, correct.
So maybe there should be, could you maybe talk about what type of allocation that should be in
We're
there?
we're waiting for the cost estimate. We just met with them last week, I believe.
Yeah,
For Mark,
again,
yeah.
yep.
Did we get estimates from them originally?
For the
Or-
much bigger building, yes, we did. And it was
Okay, so this is part of the, I guess, the
downsizing.
conversation that I had probably with Pat, when Pat was here, when the footprint changed, square footage downsized.
Yep.
Because I had a conversation with both CTC and Permar, that their costs then would be different.
Yes.
So we will see those in the form of reductions at some point, or is that already pulled out of the project? Those were already pulled out, so we'll see them put back in.
Correct. And that's why you're seeing $1 million ahead on right
yep.
now, because we have to put those back in.
Okay.
When we land on what are those going to be.
Okay,
We
thank
just
you.
confirmed with Kraus Anderson and Permar last week, the exterior door locations that will have the key card and the keypad access. And so we're working on those little fine-tuned details at this
Okay,
minute.
so we'll see those come forward, but will they be in form of change orders or just?
I don't
part of
think so. It's
that
just part of the budget.
FF&E.
It would be part of the FF&E.
Correct, and it depends on what it is precisely too. You know, if like one card reader is added on a door that currently doesn't show it on the drawings, I mean, that'd be something we'd have to figure out, but it'd be relatively minor.
Okay, thank you guys so much for that, appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Find that original dollar amount for that B3 was 500,000. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, this is very much a fluid document, and we'll keep the group updated as we go through. So happy to answer the questions.
Yeah, thank you. Counselor Johnson?
And just so the council's aware, there was many discussions about the TVs themselves. They're TVs that the city can purchase for very, very little, as opposed to the contractor, and they're upcharging, and then the contractor's upcharge. So Britt spent a lot of time when we were having the meetings way at the beginning about this one little budget item that will save us literally thousands of dollars by purchasing them at a local place as opposed to through the mail, all that other stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, great point.
Counselor Beyondich?
Thank you. Just a quick question. Following that same line, which I appreciate we're doing that, that is then going to be reflected in our budget, or where, if the city, how is that working? If it's not on theirs, it would be on the city budget?
On this budget, it'd be under the FF&E, their furnitures, fixtures, and furnishings.
But the city would be purchasing them?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, and the dollars for that would come out of one of those two lines, either furniture allowance or technology and security allowance.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm trying to ask is, where in our city budget to put it into this budget does it come from?
It doesn't have to go in the city budget.
It doesn't go, it
stays
won't
in
be
this
pulled
budget.
out of the city dollars.
It stays in this budget. It comes out of the project fund.
Okay.
So, and a lot of that purchase won't be till the end, you know, we won't be buying furniture probably till after the first of the year.
Okay,
And that's such, kind of like we did with the public safety, the ITMEC. When we went and actually met with range office and bought it
Okay.
directly, we would do that same kind of thing again.
okay,
And it would come out of this project budget. So then we'll get the purchase ready, they'll update the budget for us with our numbers, and then we'll see the total overall.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Beyondich. Any other questions?
I just have a question.
Sherry?
Will the city staff, would we be actually purchasing the furniture?
I believe the plan is to work with Wold Architects as well, and KA's offered our support there in that process.
But we won't be charged a fee for you guys to go and pick out the furniture.
Well, we don't, no, not for KA, correct?
Wold? We just don't want to be charged an additional fee. We can do the furniture. You tell us what kind, and we can go buy it.
Sure, sure. I believe the plan is Wold Architects will be helping with some of that, and that's
Some of it will
already,
have to be publicly bid and some of it won't. And it's
Correct.
just like we did with the MEC, some of the
Yeah.
stuff we can buy ourselves, we will, the stuff we have to publicly bid, we'll bid,
yep.
you know.
Yeah, the required procurement processes will all be followed for purchasing the furniture, yeah. Okay, my last agenda item are two change order requests. One is for changing what used to be the gear room on the first level to another battalion or a battalion dorm. And then across the hall in restroom B116 is to add a shower in there to help accommodate that. And then also change order request number 7 for changing the connection to the water main that was required by or is required by Virginia Public Utilities, and also recommended by Public Works Director, and Matt Reed, the engineer, was also asked to review this, and it's his recommendation as well. So it's changing from one method to another method. So these two combined are a total of $24,318.69. And I would, KA is recommending approval of these.
Okay, we'll take one at a time, change order A and then change order B. So you did answer my question with respect to the additional costs associated with this. It's within the budget constraints with respect to that. I guess I would just curious to know from the fire part of it, because it's a gear room changing area, why all of a sudden they want to change it into a dorm. I know that we cut a couple of different sleeping quarters away, and so that was an ability to add the additional one. I understand that, and the additional shower I don't have a problem with. And so you're saying that the combined total of both A and B is about $24,000 some dollars.
Correct, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure of all the reasoning, but the fire chief did ask for the change from gear room to battalion dorm, yeah.
And I'm sure they did. I would just, it come as a surprise to me because I would think they would be here today to kind of accommodate, but I understand that's not an issue for me with respect. I was just looking for some clarity, and you gave them to me, so thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Counselor Johnson. Either one of these, but we'll take them one at a time with respect to a motion.
All right, on 3A for the change order 6, so this was requested by staff.
Yes, sir.
And then I was trying to follow, is there credits for it not being the battalion room?
There are credits for not being a gear room.
Or the gear room, yes, that's.
And then adds for the battalion dorm. So for example, lockers, the gear room, if you look at original or drawings from a couple of months ago, that room is full of lockers. So there's a credit for all those lockers, for one example.
So one of my requests would be that when we have these interchanging change orders,
Yep.
that you provide an explanation, here's the credit,
Yeah.
this total credit, all in one spot. I didn't see that. If you did, I apologize.
Sure.
But I was trying to follow the positive change orders and then the negative change orders to figure out how much the change order actually is. Is it because we're getting the credits for it?
Yep.
So if you could make that a little simpler to read and on one sheet
Sure.
on these kind of credit and expense, I think we'd all appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if it's something that we've requested, I will trust the staff that they know what they're doing and why they're doing it. Thank you. I will move, as to move this along, I will move the change order COR 6 into a battalion dorm.
Counselor Johnson make a motion to approve the resolution for change order number 6 for the changing the gear room into a battalion dorm and adding a shower in restroom B116. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Freely. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm seeing in my packet, COR 6. I'm not seeing COR 7. Is that, did I just miss it, or is there a page number on there? Okay, is it change order number 7?
Number 6 is about 30 pages there. I don't change over number
The
6.
combined that he's showing is 24,318.69.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're looking for a breakdown of which cost of which is change order 6 cost and what change order
yeah,
7 cost.
I think I found it. Is that on page 38, Brett? $39. Okay. Okay, so with those two, those are the two adds, and then the rest are the deductions.
The deductions are calculated in that total $24,000 value.
So all those deductions, like Counselor, I guess that's what Counselor Johnson was maybe
Yep.
referring to. So all of the changes, the additions minus the deductions equal 24,318.69.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And that should be in your packet, all of that math in there too, I believe, but it's like Britt said, it's several pages.
Page 39 on the bottom, it might help you.
I got that. I just am wondering like what all the adds and minus the deducts, but we'll get there. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Counselor Paulson. Okay, it has been moved and supported to approve change order number 6. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the next one. Adopt a resolution for change order number 7, change to the connection at the water main as required by the Virginia Public Utilities, recommended by Public Works Director and City Engineer. So when you dug up there, you discovered that you need to make this change?
Not exactly.
Okay.
So there are different ways of connecting to a water main. The design documents currently have one way, which is called a wet tap. And when we started getting into the work, the Public Utilities Department said, well, we really want a T cut into the water main. So that involves turning off the water main, cutting in and installing a T. So different version of connecting. That's different from
And is
what's
there
in the
additional
design.
cost for that?
Yes, and that's factored in the total of $24,000.
Yep, I just wanted about $16,000, so.
Correct, sir.
And,
Yep.
and I appreciate the public utilities volunteering to pay for that portion of it, so. I hope, Greg, you're listening. Counselor Johnson.
Thank you. And just so you know, Sean, we always have to take all of our change orders individually. So
Yeah.
when you're doing this, having it listed out separately would be helpful as well.
Yes, sir.
I'm concerned that this wasn't brought up in the planning stage. If the public utilities knew this, it should have been part of our plan because this is the kind of change orders that frustrate us, that this should have been well-known. I would ask that we need to check with them for few other utility connections now so that this isn't popping up because to me, this should have been a very basic, very beginning of the planning stuff that, hey, by the way, otherwise I know the mayor was kind of kidding about making them pay for it, but I feel like they should have been aware of this. They've had access to the plans, I believe, since the beginning we've started doing this, haven't they? Do we know?
I would think they would, yes. Yep.
So I'm frustrated that it's a $16,000 change order that we should have foreseen prior to groundbreaking and prior to purchasing property. I don't know, I may not support this just as a no vote because we need to we can't make mistakes like this on this building. We've done this once with the public utilities with a bigger building. I would think we'd know how to do this by now, and I don't know who needs to think about this a little bit more, but this can't happen when it comes to basics, like connecting to water main. Thank you.
Completely understand.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Johnson. Counselor Beyondich.
you'll get to know me real well. This is why I asked the question in the beginning. With the available money, we are going to slowly eat it away. And we're going to be right back to that large amount that we started and we didn't want. You're right, this should have been caught early on. Was there a change when that number came to us where it was, what, $2 or $3 million higher? Was this something that what all was cut when we had them do that reduction? Are they slowly getting added back in, I guess is my point. Are we slowly going to be adding change orders like this as we go, and we're going to be right back to that amount that we didn't want?
We are, if we add change orders at this time, we are projected to not go over our budget. We have the funds right now in our hand. And we can only spend what we have in our hand, which is the 33 million. We can't go over that. That's all we got. Total, all in for all furniture, everything. That's it.
So what if it does go over? Where does it come from?
They don't get any furniture, and they know that. So that's basically the last piece, is they got to bring over what they have, and that's what they have to use.
So Sherry, question for you. Contingency fund.
Which one are you talking about? The contingency fund for this project?
This project.
That would be directed towards Sean.
Well, because I would like, and we've done it before, I want a running total of what our contingency fund is and what are we spending out of it.
Sure.
And I'd be short of saying I'd put money on it, that it will be zeroed out at the end of this project.
That's a possibility. That's why we allocate contingency funds to large construction projects like this. They are, for all intents and purposes, allocated funds for the project. So if a contingency fund ends up being a little over, a little over or close to zero, that's industry standard.
And thank you for that, but I think, Mr. Johnson, what he said, some of this should have been seen early on. And what I'm afraid of is we are just going to nickel and dime all the way through this, and we're going to be right up to that high amount. That's
Fair enough?
my issue, and I told you in the beginning, these change orders are going to become sticklers. because-
Understand completely. If you'll
Okay.
direct your attention to the project budget that we just looked at, there is a contingency line. Well, I don't know, I think my cursor will
It's on
show.
the very bottom of the second page, $1,070,125.76, which is the contingency based on your presentation today. So we have that, and I completely understand where they're coming from with respect to that. This is within the project
Correct.
cost, not in a contingency fund to be used. This is within the project costs associated with that. So
Correct.
Just to clarify, I'm sorry. Please continue, Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you, and thank you for that. But on our contingency fund, when we start getting into that, I want every month or every 2 weeks when we have a meeting to see where we are on that dollar amount.
Sure,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
And just quickly, for me, it's, we have a project, we bid it out, you're the construction manager at risk. You, based upon what everybody has indicated they need to be done, everybody goes through this, our public works, our engineering firm, everybody goes through this, including the Department of Public Utilities. At that particular time, the Department of Public Utilities could have said, this is what we need to do. They did not. They waited till this was going on. Is that correct?
The original,
or is that not
and I think that's
correct?
Matt's jumping up. The original plans called for them to do it the way the utilities wanted. When we
Correct.
went through the design process to bring the budget down,
Yeah.
they changed it, the architects did, to the lower cost option of connecting to the water main.
Okay, thank you for
When we got
that.
to the point of connecting, Aaron Asselson from the utilities said, absolutely not, you need to put it back the way it was originally in the plans.
Okay, I apologize. So thank you very much. Is that correct, Matt? That's okay. Matt Reed?
I could try to put a little more context into that particular change order, because I did review it, and I do agree with it. There's, as Sean mentioned, there's a couple different ways to connect to a water main. I think when the design firm put it together, they tried to minimize the impact without having to shut down a major water main, so they called out the wet tap. Basically, they tap it, they don't turn valves, they tap it, they go live. The other way is to shut it down, cut in, bolt in an actual T, and a valve, turn the water main back on, and then they use that. That bolted-in T is a stronger, more robust connection. Okay, so we're talking about one part of the loop that serves the booster station that serves Midway. And so when Public Utilities looked at it and it came down to it, that's why they're recommending it. And I 100% agree with them that we should put that bolt-in T under Second Avenue, busy intersection, very important water line. Let's get the robust connection now. As far as the cost goes, it is a little bit more to do that. And so to put it in perspective, had it been left in the plans originally, that cost would have been it would have been in the original cost. So I know it comes as a change order, and I know that word is sometimes hard to take, and we don't like change orders. Sean doesn't like them, I don't like them, you guys don't like them. But to put it in perspective, had it been in the plans to begin with that type of a connection, that dollar amount would have been part of the original bid anyway. So it would have been in there, it just wouldn't have been in as a change order. So I just thought I would share that with you, and hopefully that puts a little more into context of when it comes to the cost, when it comes to why they came back and recommended that we change it to this.
Thank you, Matt, for the clarity. Appreciate it. So any other questions, comments, or concerns before we move on this project one way or the other? Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. So was this in the original plan?
That I don't know. I can't say for sure. I don't remember, but
And I think I thought I forwarded an email from Aaron Asselson that says that exactly. This was in the original plan. I don't know why it got changed. It has to go back to the original plan.
yes, and I do recall Aaron having a conversation about that a while back. I just don't remember what the plans looked like at the time. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Okay. Request by Sean Lewis, Cross Anderson regarding change order number B. Approve the resolution for change order number 7, change to the connection at the water main as required by the Virginia Public Utilities and recommended by Public Works Director and City Engineer. Looking for council action.
So moved.
Councilor Preely moves to approve the resolution, change order number 7. Is there support for that?
Support for further discussion.
Support by Councilor Johnson for further discussion. Further discussion, Councilor Johnson, and then over to Councilor Paulson. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, and I appreciate that explanation, Matt, and the reassurance from Public Works that it was there. It is a frustration, and I understand that the architects were cutting wherever they could to make us get into budget. Again, I trust that it was there in the beginning and it was cut, probably not to our knowledge, one of those things that probably got smushed out when we were talking about TVs, unfortunately, which is kind of frustrating, but that's how government works. So I will be supporting this change order as based on what everybody said here today, it was something got moved without fanfare, I guess is the best way I can say it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so I'm going to the TNT portion. I think it's on page 42, 43, and 44. Because part of that increase of the 16,000 is due to TNT. What, it says materials an additional 15,189. What additional materials would be needed if they knew what we were doing, what the plan stated?
The plan is changing to this different version of connecting to a water main.
So that's an additional water main expenditure
Yes,
from TNT. So
correct,
they need additional pipes.
correct. And the actual T and the valve and the other ancillary materials. There's a list of materials, I think, on the next page.
I was trying to read all that. I'm not familiar with all the
Yeah,
the
that-
things
that's all
on
there,
there.
yeah.
So then, was anything purchased, other materials purchased for the original footprint, the original plan?
No,
So this is all new
Yeah.
according to this switch?
yes.
Okay, all right, thank you for that
You're welcome.
clarification.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. It has been moved and supported to approve change order number 7. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Matt, for the clarification.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Appreciate your support there. So looking ahead, finishing the underground plumbing, finishing the Second Avenue utility and street work, including concrete paving, curbs and gutters, and getting that open back up. And also, like I mentioned, site utilities and grading. And then the real big news, big milestone coming up is starting the precast concrete building this month. So you'll start seeing the actual shape of a building starting to take place out there on site in the next couple of weeks. So it's really great news.
Are we still on track, Mr. Lewis, to have the shell up by the end of October?
Yes, sir. Yep. We're on budget, we're on schedule, in good shape, and yes, it'll be a lot of fun by the end of October. It should look good out there.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Sean with respect to the update to the public safety building? Thank you.
Thank you,
very much,
Mr. Mayor.
Sean. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. The weekly updates are very, very helpful.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
And the emails coming forth and that ahead of time are also helpful for all of us. So appreciate that.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Britt?
Item number 4 is review the request for purchases from the Public Works Department, and we have Jim Rossler, Public Works Director, here.
Okay. Jim, could you please explain to the layperson like myself and maybe others, what is a bra grapple bucket?
It's actually an attachment for a loader. It's a grapple bucket that will grab trees, brush, stumps, debris, things like that, and you can,
Like a big claw?
pardon me?
Like a big claw?
Big claw, big double claw is what it is.
Very
so.
good, thank you. And is there money in your budget for that?
Well, that's the I've just informed that it's not available out of our capital equipment bond now, so I'm not sure where we sit on that.
Okay, thank you. We'll hold, reserve that for additional comment by staff. Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. This was very interesting for me because we had property and bikes, so I watched a lot of loggers and what they did. Do we have this particular piece now?
We do have a grapple bucket now. We share it with the park, but it's something that's used so continuous that to fight over it, there's days that we could both be doing work and we're not able to because one's got it or the other one has it. So it's something that gets utilized so often that it'd be well worth our means to have a second one.
So where do you use this?
You'll use it on any of your ditching projects. We've got a lot of tree projects. A lot of tree projects we're working on. Boulevard trees, our off-take ditches. Unfortunately, all of our off-take ditches need to be logged before they can be ditched and cleaned out. They were neglected, and they weren't maintained, and that's something you should maintain on a 5-year, 3 to 5 years is the average on a off-takes. So it's something you use to haul the items out because you can't get a dump truck into those areas, so you put it on a loader and you wheel load that out to an area where you can bring it out to dispose of it.
Does anybody have equipment that you could rent out? Or not contract out, but rent out equipment? Do other communities have this? Are there companies that have them that we could rent them as needed?
They will rent them, but it's kind of a supply and demand when you need it, or you got a good window and you say, okay, I got a crew today, I can get in there and the weather's dry, we can go in and do this. But if I got to plan it out where I need a bucket or a grapple for a day or a week here, that's where you struggle. And I'm not aware of anybody that's actually renting them out, to be honest, right now, so.
And the other question, sorry, I'm firing away.
Oh, that's right.
Do other communities have them and we could be sharing, or I keep looking at a bigger picture. Do other neighboring communities have equipment that could be shared or rented or we could work back and forth with?
Not this particular item. This too, it's got, everybody has separate connections for quick couplers on their machines. So you've got to purchase that grapple and that system for your loader systems, where our loader systems, we're set up so they are interchangeable.
And it's a smaller version of the big logging clause.
Yeah, like I say, it's actually a loader bucket, but it's got
Yeah,
2 clamps on it that'll pick up stumps and logs and brush piles, debris, things like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. I know. So this is not in our capital equipment bond, is that correct? No. Okay, so this is another question of where do you come up with the money?
I have a question. What are you going to attach this grapple bucket to,
To our loaders.
the loaders?
It's a quick attach attachment that literally takes the push of a button in the cab. You take the old bucket off, you drive into the other one, you hit the button, it locks it in, it self-lock.
Yeah, like the stump grinder you have too?
Pardon me?
Like the stump grinder, you take them off, take them off.
Yeah, like our skid steers we purchased, we bought attachments for all them. And they're interchangeable, so we share them with the park and
Okay, thank you. I'll let others ask their questions.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Councilor Motley?
So I have a question. How often are you running into a situation where you're needing it from Parks and Rec or whatever?
well, we could use it all fall or all winter if we're not plowing snow.
Is Parks and Rec using it every day, or?
Quite a bit, because they'll do the parks, they'll do the golf course, things like that, where we're going into blocks at a time on the street, and we're trying to get these, a lot of the bigger trees down and that, so they're taking the bigger equipment.
Is
And then
it,
same thing, we're off we might be off down by the wastewater treatment plant, or down behind the foyer, or the ball fields, Silver Creek, which runs west of the Itmec. Behind Washkes, we got a log up there. We've got some RGGS property that we're allowed on. We've got to cut and log trees through there to open the ditches back up.
and I can understand, thank you for the information, and is it possible that you could save time, and ditches is one thing, but is it possible if you could save time and money that the city could look at possibly like Calgaro and Son or Trebegon? I'm not saying these companies, but just somebody else to take the tree down? Would that save us money?
Well, my opinion, I don't think so. We used contractors for the street projects, and when I came to you to make you aware of the cost for 12 trees or whatever it was kind of sticker shock to everybody. We have most of the equipment and the resources to do it. We have the disposal means, things like that. You know what? Me coming from the county, that's part of maintenance. Your off-take ditches are some of your biggest issues or potentials in your city. You know, that water's got to run out of the city. Some goes to storm sewers. A lot of it, you rely on those off-take ditches. If they're not maintained and are corrected where that water travels out of the city, then you run into the situations that we can run into, so.
And I kind of actually remember that when you took me for a tour before I got on this council. So, random thought, Britt, or somebody up that we never got that van that Parks and Rec requested. Is there anything we can do with that money to allocate elsewhere?
I can ask that question, I can find out.
Okay, that would be good. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Motley. Councilor Johnson?
Jim, I really appreciate that you're thinking more than just a couple weeks in advance. This is one of my challenges on the council, that seems to be all this deferred maintenance and waiting and everything else. And I think getting this is really what we need to be able to continue the work you've done with the ditching and the other projects. We have an amazing staff that are very professional, and not having the tools to do their job efficiently costs us money. And I think that between the pre-planning, the long-term planning, getting rid of deferred maintenance because it's convenient and cheap, I think this demonstrates that deferred maintenance actually costs us more in the long run. And knowing our public works mechanics, this thing will probably last another 30 years if we've got golf carts that are 20 years old. I'm pretty sure they can manage this, so I think this is a great idea. And I apologize, I had to step out. Has a motion been made to approve this, Pam?
We do not have a motion on the
Okay.
floor at this point in time.
So with that, I will make a motion to approve it for further discussion. Thank you.
Councilor Johnson makes a motion to approve the purchase of the work bronze grapple bucket at a cost of $18,250 for the Public Works Department. Is there support? Is there support?
All support for further discussion.
Support by Councilor Freely for further discussion. Further discussion. Councilor Freely, and then I'll go to myself and then to Councilor Paulson. Councilor Freely.
So Jim, the alternating schedules of utilizing that existing apparatus is creating inefficiencies, is what you're saying? You're not being able to get the volume of work done that you need to, alternating it between Public Works and Park and Rec?
Yeah, there's so much work. Our tree list is so long now. And
For both departments?
for both departments, yes, that we're playing catch-up, and at this rate, it's never going to happen.
Is this grapple bucket something that's essential for like the Mud Creek or the Silver Creek over by Northern Engine in that area that's been discussed?
Yeah, so when you go in and you clean out an off-take ditch or you do an off-take ditch, to get in there, you have to you should maintain both sides of that ditch. I'm happy with maintaining the one side, but you got to be able to cut the other side so you don't have overgrowth and that falling into the ditch. But you have to be able to go in there then, whether it's the winter time, when it's frozen out or that, and clean things out. And that should be done about every 5 years. So that's a big part of your maintenance
And
to
I don't
that.
question that there's the volume of work necessary to justify this purchase, but when we don't have the budgeted funds to do so, then you have to be working on an alternating schedule with the existing apparatus, in my opinion. I know that's not as efficient as we'd like to be, but at this point in time, I wouldn't be able to support that purchase based on the fact that we don't have money in the budget to be able to do that.
And, I want to also say I was just made aware of that. I was aware that there was money in the capital equipment budget, and I was just notified here 15 minutes ago that we can't take it from there because it's more specific. And that was also with my next piece of equipment that was in that purchase. That's another thing to do with ditching, brushing, logging, all that, so.
So yeah, I just like, given, I understand the need for it. I know that it'd be much more efficient. We'd be able to, more high volume work would be completed, but at this point in
Yeah.
time, I can't support looking to purchase something for which we have to extract funds from somewhere else that we don't really have them either. So at this point in time, thanks.
Councilor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. And I think, Jim, that was my question. So, so A and B under Finance for Public Works, are either one of these on the capital equipment bond list?
My understanding that they can't be now, so,
They what?
no.
They are not listed. So this is a request for expenditures that we don't have any funds budgeted for.
Yeah, and like I say, I was just made aware of it 15 minutes ago, so.
Okay, okay. So I appreciate
But was
that.
still told to present it, so.
Right, right. And then, do you foresee having another list circulating of needs for each department?
Yeah, we do. And I also.
I was just looking in my desk for the old one and I
Yeah,
can't find
yeah,
it.
we'll get that list out to everybody here soon. I was also, just had a thought that maybe we should ask FEMA for some assistance with these purchases also, if the council agrees to let us keep looking for funding for these things.
I would be open to that.
Yeah, we can ask them, as part of our ditching process that we need for our remediation process, we need assistance in purchasing these.
I would definitely be open to that.
I actually
so-
put those on my list
Did-
with, for FEMA,
For
so,
hazard mitigation, yep.
because it would show.
So if that could be done, then, I mean, I would reconsider, but at this time, expending our funds, I would probably vote no right now, but if we could get some approval with FEMA dollars, that would definitely change for me.
Understandable.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Councilor Johnson, as an alternative, would you consider on your motion to make an amendment to contingent on finding additional funding or not?
Not at this time, Mayor. I think it's important that we move forward with this.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Because if we don't get FEMA money, this will get forgotten, other than at Public Works, where they'll know it's missing. And I will be supporting purchasing this because it's a necessity. It's, again, one of those things that we put off. I know that in the past, we've tried to share equipment with other communities, and 9 times out of 10, it needs to be fixed before we can use it. And we pay for that fixing down at Public Works. So I will be voting yes on the purchase of this item.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Beyondich?
you. So I was just given our balance for the end of the year, and it would not cover both of these pieces of equipment. And thank you for saying that you weren't made aware of it, and it came on the agenda anyway. I appreciate that. But I would agree also to continue searching for either the FEMA dollars or where else we can get this. And continuing through the end of this year using the equipment as you have been using it, which is, you've done a great job at that. So thank you.
And I'm all right with that. You know, like I say, I understood that it looked like there was money available. That's why it was presented today. And I apologize for taking your time up even on it. But
No, you didn't take our time. In fact, it gave me a chance to look at both pieces of equipment. I was online this morning looking at them and researching, and what a great job they would do. So I appreciate you saying what you said, and I am all for searching if we can get that money through FEMA to help. And as long as we can keep continuing to do what we're doing, you've done an amazing job with that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. I have one question, and before we move on here, it has been moved and supported, so be asking to a vote unless there's some additional discussion. So say for the sake of argument, say this does not pass. And if it does not pass, and then we direct staff to take a look at for the FEMA funds, and if we find the FEMA funds for that, you come back and then say, you know, we have these funding, we'd like to purchase this, and come back to scale in that respect. If that's not the case, if FEMA doesn't, you know, it doesn't cover under the FEMA plan, and this is voted down, is there an alternative opportunity for, say, a private citizen to, or a organization, I should say, to purchase the piece of equipment and then ask for a payback on a monthly basis? Is that feasible or not? Not feasible. Okay, thank you. Councilor Freely.
Just curiosity, so like RGGS owns enormous expanses of land around here that border our municipality. You even said that you have to ask permission at times to be on their property to do whatever you're doing, correct?
Absolutely.
And so like, do they have equipment? Do they ever take initiatives to assist the municipality with anything that might be encroaching on or intruding on our borders of our properties?
No,
And why not? And should there not be conversations with regard to that? I mean, if there's any resource that could be tapped, it would be RGGS, in my opinion, given what they own and are responsible for, because those lands even encroach on my property that I own over in Stony Brook and Mountain Iron. And that's the continuation of the Mud Creek, Silver Creek system that goes out that way. And there's been times there's beaver dams back there that start to flood up on my property. And I've asked them to go back there and trap, which they did, but there's other issues that could come into play where equipment could be utilized or procured for the utilization to do the things that need to be done in those areas that are bordering their lands in our municipality. So I mean, there should be conversations, I think, with those kinds of entities that surround us and border our community that could be assisting to what needs to be done for our community. So that's my spiel. So thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. I just also want to add that the IRRB does do funding for pieces of equipment, like fire trucks in the past they have for other communities. So if we get some maybe FEMA dollars, maybe they could do a match for IRRB and with some FEMA dollars. So I just, for both those items, A and B, I think that's what I would recommend going forward. Thank you.
and we're partly there. You know, we have the equipment. It's the attachments that come, and unfortunately, they're expensive. But to use them and have them available, the two skid steers we bought between Public Works and Park and Rec, they're out all the time. And the attachments you can put on them, I mean, the list is endless on them, so. And it's kind of the same thing with the Fecon head that would go on an excavator, the grapple bucket that would go on a loader. There are attachments to that.
Okay, thank you. One quick comment, then we'll move for a vote. I'm going to support this because it has to be done. You need the piece of equipment. If it doesn't pass, and I don't anticipate it will, the reason I'm voting for it is because it extends the opportunity for staff to look for additional funding for that. I'm just supporting that we need to purchase it, whether it comes out from if it's not to come out of our budget, it'll have to come from somewhere else, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I understand it's probably not going to come out of our budget. We have the funding for that. But by allowing us to purchase the thing, the money can come from some other source. Otherwise, we got to come back again. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to move to table until we get more funding options available to us. So I'll move to table. I don't know if I need to go A and B or just A, since that's what we're talking about now, but I will move to table until we get more information about where we're going to get the funds for this.
Thank you. My comments, I was hoping that would generate some other motion with respect to this. Thank you. It's been motioned by Councillor Paulson to table. Is there support?
Support for discussion?
No discussion in the tabling motion.
That's support.
Support for table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Paulson,
Aye.
Beyondich,
Aye.
Johnson,
No.
Aaronzelli. Yes. Huffy,
Aye.
Motley,
Yes.
Friedlieb.
No.
Motion passes 5-2. Thank you. And that can be for both, or only A? Only A. Okay, thank you. Okay, Britt? For B? Okay, same thing for B.
I'll move to table B.
Councillor Paulson moves to table B. Is there support?
Support.
By Councillor Beyondich. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Roll call, please, Pam.
Beyondich,
Aye.
Johnson,
No.
Aaronzelli. Yes. Huffy,
Aye.
Motley,
Yes.
Friedlieb,
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
A motion passes 6-1. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Item number 5 is review and approve the agreement for services with Locality Media Incorporated in the Virginia Fire and Ambulance Department. And I just wanted to let everybody know they couldn't be here today. They're in Duluth for one of those Sprint Medic meetings. They're working on how they're going to do the community paramedic program.
I will move to table this until appropriate staff is present to discuss it.
Councillor Johnson moves to table item 5. Is there support?
Support.
By Councillor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Items 6, 7, and 8 come from Buildings and Grounds, so I'll transfer this over to Councillor Johnson, the chairperson.
Thank you, Britt. Find the page. All right. We met on August 29th here. Oh, thank you. I couldn't find that. And the first thing we discussed was the purchase of parcel 090018000440. And the motion was to authorize staff to continue researching this project, and I would move that they continue the process.
Councillor Johnson moves to authorize staff to continue to inquire about the purchase of this parcel code. Is there support? Is there support?
I'll support for discussion.
Support by Councillor Freely. Further discussion? Further discussion? Councillor Freely.
So it's kind of an odd-shaped lot that primarily is drainage area, it appears, into the Silver Creek drainage system, so to speak. And so I guess I don't know what the rationale is when the city of Virginia has been in existence for over 100 years and that's sat there unowned by the city, why we would need to own it now and pay $49,000, $50,000 for that property. If we've had to excavate in there, and I don't know that we have, or if we ever will, I'm sure we'd get permission to do so. I just don't understand the rationale for needing to purchase that property when it's been sitting there for 100 years and we've never had to own it and still had the opportunity to maintain it to whatever degree necessary. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jenny, does this have any value for economic development?
For economic development, no, it's really not a matter of that. It's a matter of maintenance and potential, I think, liability on the city if we're going in there on privately owned property to maintain ditching or right-of-way.
Mayor, if I may
Okay,
point,
thank you. Please,
may
Britt.
point out the clarification is we're having staff do some research. We should not enter into negotiations or discuss price or anything at this meeting. We're open session. So at this, we are working on getting that information when it was obtained and all that other information. So if we can just keep moving forward and working on it, we'll come back to the council with more discussion.
Yeah, and I think the request is to authorize staff to continue to inquire about the property, not to take any action with respect to that. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, the next item that we discussed at length was Midway Drive, the old hotel. It's becoming a health and safety issue, in my opinion, as well as the neighbors. It was moved and supported to direct staff to work on the demolition process for the Midway Motel on Midway Drive, parcel 09000890010, and to look into this health and safety and blight concerns, and I so move.
I would support for discussion.
Moved by Councilor Johnson, supported by Councilor Motley to authorize staff to proceed with the process for demolition of the Midway Motel. That parcel code 09000890010. Further discussion, Councilor Motley.
Would that be city workers that do that, or do we have to bring somebody in to take it down, or how does that work? What does that look like?
Britt?
We haven't gotten that far yet. I do know there's a little bit of asbestos, so I'm trying to find that asbestos removal, what we did in 2017. So we're still just working very preliminary process for this right now.
Okay, thanks, Britt. And then also, just because we all know I live in Midway, I've noticed there is a lot of people has been coming in and out of there, so I'm sure the neighbors will be very appreciative if this does go down, so.
Well,
thank
they
you,
have
Mayor.
been vacating people from that property, so thank you. It has been moved and supported to continue with the process. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So when we're saying proceed with process, what is the process we follow?
I have to determine how much asbestos is remaining still, which I need to find that. Then I have to get a quote for the asbestos removal. I have to get a quote for demolition because this one is from 2017. So it's working on
mainly
getting all the
obtaining
quotes.
quotes.
Yeah.
And then I guess I was wondering if that would be something city staff could do minus the asbestos abatement.
But that I don't know either. I need to talk to staff too about that.
Okay. The last question that I have is, was there any water damage from flood or storm or anything that we could apply to FEMA for funding for that?
I don't know that we've been in there since then to look at that, but we'll take a look. That's a great idea.
Okay. That's all I had to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion and support? Take a look at the process, find out what's available, and you'll come back to us if any additional action needs to be taken.
I am going to start with the conversation with IRRB again. We had applied back in 2017 and they said no at that time. I'll try again and see what I can do.
And I have a scheduled meeting with the IRRB Commissioner to talk about a number of things. That would be one of them. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
We had some discussion about the chain link fence and the fencing on the east side of the golf course near the residential area. We got some quotes that are in your packet for 4 and 6 foot height replacement for the lower fences. But The problem is that we have trees that are not there anymore, and that seems to be what's causing the challenges. We are unable to put up a large fence on, for lack of a better term, telephone poles because of the utilities that already exist there. Public Utilities said that if we were, the distance we would have to cut into the fairway is not acceptable. So the staff are looking at some fast-growing appropriate trees to get planted there as part of that mitigation, but we are also looking at creating the fence. So it was moved and supported in committee to authorize up to $15,000 for the installation of a new chain link fence on the golf course adjacent to 11th Avenue North, and I so move.
Moved by Counselor Johnson. Is there support?
I'll support for discussion.
Support by Counselor Freely for further discussion. Further discussion, Counselor Freely, then over to Counselor Paulson, and then maybe anybody else. Counselor Freely.
So I'm assuming there's been conversations that have been had with the reparation of the existing fence as opposed to tearing it all out of there and putting in a new one. It appears to me, being a layman, that should have been able to be repaired already in some fashion without having to extract anything that's already existing there. But I don't know, and maybe that's why it hasn't been done. But my vision, though not knowledgeable, is that should be able to be restored and repaired to its original condition, rather than purchasing brand new and spending $15,000. But I don't know who to talk to about that, or why that hasn't been discussed, or why it hasn't been done for the years that it's been sitting there in disrepair. So, and if anybody can answer that question, I'd love to hear it. So I could not be in favor of spending $15,000 for a fence that appears to me repairable. Thank you.
I think I can give you a little clarity about that. Last year, we tore down 2 trees by a residence. Part of the tree was partially on their property, but it was actually planted on our property. We moved those 2 trees. And then the request by the people up there, the citizens, that they wanted these other trees moved from the golf because they were afraid they were going to fall down. So the golf course and Park and Rec took a look at those trees, and they were impinging on the power line and others. So they, at the request of those citizens and on behalf of the health and safety, they tore those trees down. Now, last year, we approved the repair and replacement of sections of that fence. And Keller Fence was the fencing company that was a contractor that was awarded this. They never showed up. They didn't show up in the summer. They didn't show up in the fall. They didn't show up in the spring. So, got other quotes from Iron Oak Fencing. Now, if you went up there and took a look at the condition of that fence, it's not reparable. It's the whole links are busted up. The whole guide system is all broken, partially due to deterioration. The other part is the winter plowing in that area would cause some significant damage to that. And the citizens up there are not, they have to look out their deck and see this rickety old fence that's sitting down there. There's holes in the fence where people have gone through there. I think the request is to put a 4-foot fence instead of a 6-foot fence all the way along there. So there was some discussion about last year. We did approve that last year to have that Iron Oak fence to come, Keller Fence to come and fix that. So this is going to put in just to clean it up. It's not going to prevent golf balls from going over there. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to prevent other activities like ATVs and four-wheelers and things of that nature. And when people try to retrieve the golf balls from the fence, they're trying to climb over the fence or doing this and that. So the discussion was at the committee was to put a 4-foot fence up there because when golf balls go through the fence, they got these golf ball retrievers. They can reach over the fence and pick them up without having them damage the fence, number one. And number two, it's the goal and objective, I think, through our Councilor Johnson's committee is Iron Oak Fences through Park and Rec. So we're going to have these little openings so that if somebody has to go retrieve a golf ball or whatever, instead of climbing over the fence, they can walk through these little openings. It aesthetically does it. It's not for the health and safety of golf balls flying over there because they fly of an apex of upwards of over 130 feet in the air. or a lot higher. So he said, there's no way you can put a higher fence up there. So the purpose is aesthetics and to make sure that, it's old and dilapidated and the condition of, and I'm going on about this, but there's going to be a laundry list of things coming from a Park and Rec with respect to the golf course, and some of the maintenance has been neglected over the last decade. There's a lot of issues up there, a lot of problems. This is just one of them. So I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity.
My understanding is that like NTS has, the seepage in that area of that part of the golf course that precludes us from being able to put new things into the ground. My concern would be if we remove the old, we won't be allowed to put anything there.
You can put back the cement where there is cement, but there's not cement along a lot of the fence. It's just in the ground. And that's why it's been, when it gets snow damage, that's why it's such a problem, because it's just literally poles in the dirt. And we can do that again. We can put the poles back where there are. Can't put any new cement in at this time. But
Thank you. Councilor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. So how much was originally allocated when we did pass this last year? I don't remember either, so if we could maybe check on that. The question that I have is, what I've been told by some of the residential residents that live along that area is that it keeps getting hit with plow trucks. And I don't know if that's what's causing the damage, so even if we put a brand-new one in, is it going to get damaged further if we did that? And second of all, if it was damaged by our plow trucks, could we not claim that as an insurance claim item? If there was proven damage from a plow truck?
wouldn't have been this last year. It would have been the year previous. We didn't have enough snow this last year to.
So it would have been the year before?
Yeah.
Too
And it's
late.
hard to say, like Mayor said, we have people that run over it with snowmobiles and four-wheelers
Yeah.
in the winter because they're going onto the golf course. And
So that was just a thought I had for funding.
so I think the structural integrity of a new one, even though it's just going to be poles without cement, is going to be better than one that's there. This one's been damaged for 20 years, it keeps getting knocked over and picked back up and knocked over and picked back up. And
Okay, so if we could find out how much was allocated. I also think it's a safety hazard. I've watched kids try to hop that fence to get golf balls. And when that top end isn't on there, that little, whatever that's called, the protector, the cap, they're snagging on that. So I think it's important we do fix that. The other question, and I know the motion is just on the $15,000 allocation, but the other question that I have is the letter in the packet from Aaron Asselson. And Britt, thank you for emailing him, but what you had said is it goes on 11th Avenue North along the golf course. Would it be possible for use to put up a net to catch golf balls on and in between the utility poles? I'm thinking he thinks it's between the utility poles instead of in. And I know Councilor Johnson had just stated it would go too far into the fairway for that. But again, last summer, a resident was hit and ended up in the emergency room with a concussion. So I feel that this is a public safety issue and that it's important that we do address it. And we did, with a resident that was here, we told the resident that we would be addressing this and that we would try to find a remedy. And I don't know if you have looked at like the Top Golf or the Sweet Shots, those netting systems. And I understand we can't put cement in the ground maybe right at this moment, but the residents in that area think that the council is still working on a solution for that. And I don't want to bypass that we are not, but I don't think that Aaron maybe understands the placement of where these could be placed, not necessarily between the poles, but maybe toward the greens further.
I did ask Aaron in a subsequent question about how close could I get? And he said I have to be 10 feet
So that's not too far.
into the fairway. It would be on the opposite side of the chain link fence.
10 feet from the utility poles, which are right on the fence.
Correct.
So it's only 10 feet in.
Into the fairway.
It wouldn't be that far.
And it likely wouldn't be in the fairway, it'd be in the rough portion of the fairway. So,
I mean, if we go all the way down to where the rock wall is, that would be partly onto by the tee box, and I would go past all that.
10 feet isn't that much, so I would like to see that explored
keep looking
because
at it.
we did commit to the residents in that area. And still their houses are getting hit and their siding is getting damaged. My concern is that another person is going to get hit, or a child, or an animal, as people walk their pets in that area. So I think it's important that we have a plan of action for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think exploring it is one thing, but the motion on the floor is that at least to fix the fence along the way and not be the permanent fix, but to do an additional exploration, explore the cost associated with it. Putting a big net up is going to be a heck of a lot more money than what we have available at this point in time, but exploring that and keeping that option open moving forward is only prudent to do so. So thank you for that, Councilor Paulson. It has been moved and supported by a recommendation by the Building and Grounds to approve this $15,000 for installation of the new chain link fence along the golf course adjacent to 11th Avenue. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Johnson.
Just to clarify, the motion is only about the chain link fence. It has nothing to do with additional research or anything like that.
Yes, correct. Yep. Thank you. Just the motion to fix the fence. Is there any further discussion? Yeah, Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. And Sherry, is this out of the contingency fund, or does it come out of
Golf course.
the golf course, and they have dollars allocated in their fund yet?
They still have dollars in their fund. They're doing healthy.
They're doing good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. There were no other actionable items from that meeting.
Pardon?
There were no other actionable items from that meeting.
No other action items. If I may, Councilor Johnson, we did discuss building security at your meeting.
We did?
We did. And no recommendations came out of that meeting.
Not that it is in the minutes, no.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you. So that was brought up at the Committee of the Whole meeting regarding I have a huge concern of the finance office open and the access to the room that holds our election machines, voting machines. So I'd like to have some either a opinion on it, or I'd like to have a motion that those be locked at night. I thought we were supposed to get who has access.
On that report, yes.
Okay, so, but early voting is starting, so I will make a motion right now to, I guess Pam, before I do this, I'd like to ask a question of you. Who has access, and how, like when I talked to Commissioner Nelson quite a while ago, they have 3 keys, and 2 people need to be present in order to access machines or I guess ballots, when you do drop the ballots off physically.
Pam?
Thank you, Mayor.
This was a while ago that I had this discussion with him.
So all of our ballots are kept in the vault at night, so they're locked in there. The machines, until we actually do the testing, are kept upstairs in the engineering office, which at that point, there's nothing that can be done with those, or would be anything hazardous, I should say. So once we bring them downstairs to the club room to do all the processing and the accuracy testing, that is when I definitely need to have those secure. The ballots are in the machines for going over to the Iron Trail Motors Event Center for the election, and the machines are ready to go, so we definitely don't want any tampering going on with those. As far as who has access, would be the janitor. I think the police department has a key for the club room. I have a key for the club room. I think Councilor Johnson has a key for the club room. That's about all right now.
That's where
that I
those
know of.
election machines, voting
Would be
machines are
once I
stored.
start the testing, yes. We put
Okay.
everything downstairs and kind of secure that, just because I have to have all the machines out, and then when the judges come and we do the testing, and then they just stay there until the election, which, I don't have the date set on when we will be doing that, but it'll definitely be probably the third week of October. So there's like a two-week time frame there for that. As far as the office, we do have one of the other absentee machines that stays in the area of our copier, which now everybody has access to that. We could move that every night. If the finance office is going to be locked, we could put that in there.
Okay,
So that would be secure.
okay, so the first motion I will make is to make sure the finance door is locked nightly and that there are no access keys available to anyone but the people in the finance department. Does that narrow it down too much?
That is your motion?
That would be my motion. Thank
Is there
you.
support?
Support.
Motion by Counselor Paulson, supported by Counselor Yondich. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Johnson.
When will the cleaning staff have access?
Other than finance, what other staff would have access? Finance. Other than, of course, the city administrator and the finance people, so, which would
Don't
be
the
Sherry.
doesn't the cleaning crew or the cleaning people, don't they do it during the day? They wouldn't need after-hours access, isn't that correct?
During the day.
Is that correct?
And you're talking about access after business hours.
Yeah, that, I would say access after business hours, so I would say no to any other staff after business hours.
Okay. Moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Johnson.
Thank you. So that means the custodial staff have to vacuum in there while our staff is doing work. I'm just trying to get an idea because after hours goes until the office opens at 8 a.m., I'm guessing. And that would mean that our staff, cleaning staff, would have to come in while conducting regular business staff. And I just want to make sure that's clear that that's what we're doing.
Mayor?
Counselor Motley, and then over to Pam. Counselor Motley.
Pam,
Pam.
Thank you. Currently, the finance people are vacuuming their own offices. So if that's going to change at some point, then I guess we can work that out. But usually, if someone is vacuuming my office, I'll leave for 5 minutes, and go get water or something. It doesn't interrupt because it doesn't take that long to do it.
I appreciate that because I was under the impression that we had a custodian in this building to do all of the cleaning. So I guess I'm perplexed at that. Thank you.
It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next motion.
The next motion would be, how do I even phrase this? This would be where the voting machines would be in the club room and who needs to have access, and it would be during voting, during the time that the machines would be in there. So it would be time specific. And then who would need the access specifically?
I would just want myself to
Just
have
you.
access. I don't know if we could do a padlock on the door just
Padlock?
for that time.
So just you would have access for that time frame, and padlock might be the easiest thing to do?
Because I think right now that's
Like
a
one of the
master
old
key
keys,
that
master key?
opens that door, so.
the old door locks that are like on this door here, you can customize them so that a certain key opens them and not the master. So we can have staff do that too. Basically just change the lock of the clubroom door.
But then you'd have to rekey it after that was over for master, so so everybody would have access to it again.
Right.
Yes.
So I guess my motion would be to add an additional lock onto the clubroom door, having our city clerk be the only one to have access during the times that the machines will be in the clubroom.
Okay, support by anyone?
Support.
By Counselor Beyondich. Further discussion? I just have one quick thing before to Counselor Johnson. There was a question about, I think the Sons of Norway have their meetings there. I talked to Pam about that. We actually open door for them. They don't have a key to get in there. So that's unlocked for them. And so that could be abated in some regard. And number two, I'm not, and when I brought it up for Building Grounds to discuss, and no action was taken, but it was discussed there by the committee that, and I'm not a member of that committee, but as a suggestion for discussion, it was discussed that it's not just for City Hall buildings, and your motions are specific to the City Hall. I'm talking about overall security for the entire, all the city buildings, and who has access to what. And in these times where, you know, there's some uncertainty about what kind of people come in there, you got disdained people that are angry and visceral, you have homeless people. So we want to make sure there's no access there and no unauthorized personnel other than who's supposed to be in there for regular work. So I'm talking about the entire building structure when we talked about that. So, but your motion on the floor is specific to City Hall, so it has been moved and supported. Further discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm happy to continue making motions. This was two of my main concerns was the voting machines and then the finance office. So for right now, and then I have more to talk about on the locking on our systems, but for right now, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Moved and supported. Further discussion. Councilor Johnson.
So Pam, will we be blacking out any rentals for that room during any of the, and if
Yes.
there are any prior rentals for that room, will those folks be accommodated in another space in the city for no extra cost?
The Sons of Norway usually will use the lunchroom then instead of the clubroom if we have election equipment in there.
Okay, and
So
the
they
other
don't have a
groups,
problem with that.
the Girl Scouts?
They found a new place.
Okay. And then I have a concern because that is the kitchen that police use to cook their meals on their nights. So I have a concern that we are limiting our police officers from being able to cook themselves warm meals at no cost to them.
Okay, thank you. Has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you. And I don't know what was discussed at Buildings and Grounds, but I think, you know, to your point, in terms of safety, and I believe that there was somebody in our building were they after hours? Did they spend the night in the city hall? Yeah, so I'm really concerned about that. I personally don't think, I don't want access to anything. Like I don't need to be here after hours. So if my key can just get into that little room to check my mail, but if I check my mail during the regular business day, I don't need a key to anything. So at this point, I don't think counselors should have keys to any buildings in the city of Virginia, except maybe the mayor to have access to your office. But I don't think it's a good idea. I don't like coming here alone when I'm at the cable commission meetings down in the basement. It's really dark down there. I know the lights go on automatically, but you know, in the past, even our key fob, the old key fob, that never worked to get into the building. It's when we got the new key cards that I could swipe to get in. Otherwise, we had to ring at the police door to get to our 6 o'clock cable commission meeting. And I was totally fine doing that. And I think for a safety factor, I don't think that anyone should have key card access to any building in the city. Whether that's the ITMAC, whatever buildings, the library, I think there is too much of a risk factor and a liability. So I don't know what motion needs to be made, but Brian, what would be the correct terminology that to ensure those that have access, but the council should not have access.
Please, Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. And I think what you're looking for is an update to the security policy that would restrict access, would restrict the access of the council members to various buildings or sites after hours.
And maybe revisit that with other entities. I mean, do Iron Trail Motors Event Center employees come into the city hall at night? You know, is there cross openings, and is that a necessary thing? So I guess that might be a good way to do it, to revert back to our policy and to explore expanding that or contracting that policy. So that would be my motion then, to
Direct staff to upgrade the security
direct
policy.
staff to upgrade the security policy to
access.
reflect access. Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Motion by Counselor Paulson, your support.
Support for discussion.
Support by Counselor Bionis for discussion, further discussion. So for me, getting into the building at night, and getting into my office is all I need. I don't need access to any other building. Sometimes you gotta have meetings and meet with the residents at night. They'll come to the office because they don't want me to come to their house. But I don't need access to any place else. So, Counselor Beyondich.
Thank you. And that turned into a larger discussion on not only for people to come in, I asked what the actual, the hours of City Hall were. City Hall should be closed at 4:30. For the safety of exactly what happened, where somebody came in and slept in this building and was not found, they left on their own, from what I understand. My concern is when Sherry and Britt are working long hours, that the doors are open and people can come in. Now, Britt did tell me that the police lock the door on shift change. To me, that's too late. If City Hall is done at 4:30, the doors are locked at 4:30 for the safety of the people that are still in here that are doing their business. I have always said, I don't want a key. I did not know my key opened downstairs. Personally, I don't want a key. I don't need a key to get in here. If I have mail and I can come on, when we have our meetings on Tuesday nights, I'll go in there and pick up my mail. Otherwise, I try to come during open office hours. But I think it just leaves us open for a liability for people who know that the doors are open till 7 o'clock and there may be 1 or 2 people in this building, period. So for me and the safety of our staff, when the building is done at 4:30, lock it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Beyondich. So it has been moved and supported to direct staff to upgrade our security policy and present that to us for consideration and discussion. Is that the correct motion? Further discussion as the motion maker, Counselor Paulson, then we'll go over to Counselor Motley.
Thank you.
Counselor
I just
Paulson.
have one final question.
Sure.
So on the Iron Trail Motors Event Center, those are time specific. They open automatically, I think at 6 a.m. And I don't know if they, well, Brian's not here, if they close automatically. Is that something that we could implement right away here at City Hall for
Fortunately, we
protection?
would need new doors, and that was part of our bit larger plan under the state bonding, was to get new doors that had the electronic components in them.
So for right now, it can't be, but they could be physically locked by
Absolutely,
somebody
physically.
at 4:30?
Absolutely.
Okay,
100%.
okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Brett.
And any car keys could be access controlled in a time frame. You only authorized to access between certain times of the day.
That, I would like that. That would be makes sense to me.
And Britt has
Thank
that option. Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion? Motion in support, is further discussion. Counselor Johnson?
So I'm going to say straight out, this is a will be a discriminatory policy for those of us that work from 7:30 to 5. There will be zero access I have on a regular basis to this building. Yes, I have a key card to this building. Yes, I have a key to this room because this is my office. I don't take any city work home. I don't bring anything to my house. I do it here in this space. Utilizing the key card access, my access can be checked anytime, any day by Britt. I cannot work from home. I have 3 children now, and finding the quiet time after school is impossible. And I think that I think it's really important to realize that not everybody who's going to sit on this council will be able to come to this building during the day. And furthermore, I almost feel like we're questioning our own integrity in this room. We were elected by the citizens of Virginia to serve, and that looks different for each one of us. I do not have the ability to come here at 6:30 in the morning or 7:30 or 8:30 because I have 3 children. I do not have the ability to pop in after school because I have 3 children. So when I have a chance, when my kids are all at an activity, I come and I do my work. And if that's a problem, I apologize, but if we want younger folks serving on this committee and we want people who really represent our community, people need to have access to their computers and this space. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that when we first started 8 years ago, there was no outreach in the community from the council on a regular basis. One of the things that I pride myself is in our ability to go and table and represent the city at functions. And I hope you all realize that that is done off hours. Getting pamphlets together, getting all that stuff together as a city council member, as an employee of the city, that doesn't happen between 8 and 4:30. That happens in the evenings. So I really caution as you move forward on what this new policy will look like for people who are going to be elected and for current councilors. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Motley.
I would just have to agree with Councilor Beyondich. I don't think the city council needs to be here after hours. If they need to check their mail, they can just come during regular business hours. I'm totally fine with having access to nothing. And also, in regards to discrimination, I guess I don't necessarily agree with that, but I respect your opinion. I do have a full-time job that's Monday through Friday. I have another job that's casual, that is lots of other hours, and then I have this job, and I make it to City Hall to check my mail, so I don't feel like it's discrimination. And I work like every day of my week, and I manage to get my mail. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Motley. So the motion is moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No.
Roll call, please, Pam.
Johnson,
No.
Aaronzelli. Yes. Huffy,
Aye.
Motley,
Yes.
Friedlieb, Paulson,
Aye.
Beyondich.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you.
I have a question, Mayor.
That's all?
I have a question.
Yes, question, Councilor Johnson.
Mr. Lindsay, if I refuse to give up my keys and my access to my desk and my computer, what is my consequence?
Well, that's for the security policy review. Please, Mr. Lindsay.
It would depend on what the updated security policy indicates. I mean, I think the ultimate, at the end of the day, the ultimate step would be to just remove your access from your key card or to ask to have your keys returned.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Okay, anything else on your report, Councilor Johnson?
For the third time, no, Mayor.
Okay, I'll just double check in there, Councilor Johnson. Pam.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question for Britt. Since we had the issue with our lunchroom, would it be possible to put the keypad on that door? No, we can't? Okay. Can we get another lock maybe put on it? I don't know if the one that's on there works, but it is kind of scary going down there if people are accessing our building and we have food in the fridge and, oh. That's a good idea.
Well, I think that's all for discussion on the security policy. I'm sure there's some additional information that we need to take a look at and revisit based on the motion, revisit, make some changes if we have to, make some adjustments if we have to. Councilor Johnson.
I will also point out that quite a while ago, we had an opportunity to expand the garage behind us and create a longer garage that then, as the Public Safety Center opened, could have been converted to an accessible entryway for City Hall, and that would have been the only access people had for the general public. So I'm just going to, from my point of view, this is what happens when we don't look further down the road than 5 or 10 days or months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Johnson. Okay, anything else? Next item, please, Britt.
Item number 9 is approve the transient merchant license for Libby DeVere, doing business as Travelin' Tom's Coffee.
So moved.
Move to approve by Counselor Johnson. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Freelieb. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 10 is approve the request from the fire department to block off streets and use the parking lots on September 26, 2024 for their annual open house.
So moved.
Support.
Move to approve by Counselor Paulson and supported by Counselor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Britt? Okay, no further items. Anyone else have any other items of concern before we adjourn our committee of the whole meeting? Seeing none, we'll stand adjourned to this committee of the whole meeting. It is 11:11 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. We stand adjourned.